Hello and welcome to PSY 120, Careers in Psychology, Neuroscience, and Human Development. My name is Dr. Tamara Daly, and I'll be your instructor this semester. In this video, I'm giving you your orientation to the course. Since this is an asynchronous online course, basically your home is going to be the D2L page, and then secondarily the perusal page where your textbook lives. So I'm going to be walking you through what's on the D2L page, giving you a sense of where to find things, how to access your materials, how to do your assignments, and so on. The front page, so starting with the front page here, I do add my contact information right on the front page so it's easily accessible. Has the physical location of my office, which is the second floor of Tollerton and Hood in room 206, my email address, my phone number, and access to my bookings page, which is how you can make an appointment to see me. In the last several years, I've gone away from having static office hours like 11 to 1 on Tuesday, because most of the time it's a rarity that a student would find that convenient to show up. So I hardly ever had students coming to my office during office hours. Instead, what works better is for students to click on this bookings link and put themselves on my calendar. You can choose either an in-person or an online meeting to meet with me. Of course, if I'm at work, my door happens to be open, feel free to knock and find out if I'm available if you just want to chat. Also on this front page, I have information about accessing your textbook. I'm not going to discuss that right now. I'm going to go over that more in a little bit. The other thing on the front page, there's a news box, which I don't use very often, but the content browser is something that you will probably use a lot, where you can go to Start Here to look at the introductory materials, including the video that I'm recording right now, your syllabus, other kinds of policy documents, and so on. Where you're going to spend most of your time is in these weekly modules. So the content browser is right there on the front page so that you can access it easily. Now going up to the tabs at the top, you're going to spend most of your time in the content space. So let's start here. My contact information is repeated here under Welcome to the Course. Gives you the bookings link so that you can make appointments with me, my email, my phone number. This orientation page, the video that I'm recording right now and that you're currently watching is going to be posted like right here in this little spot as soon as I'm done with it. The course setup, I mentioned this is an asynchronous online class. What that means is you're never going to be required to meet with me or other students online at the same time. We don't have any kind of set class time. You're going to do your work on your own schedule. As long as you meet your weekly deadlines, I'm happy. Through both D2L and perusal, you'll have materials that you're to read, lectures that you're to watch, assignments that you need to complete, and all of the due dates and so forth are listed both on the syllabus and here on D2L as well. The expectations and purpose of the course, the catalog description of the class is listed here. I'm not going to read it word for word, but basically what our goal is to provide you with solid information that you can use to make mindful decisions going forward beyond your bachelor's degree. So exploring the range of possible careers, the types of work, the types of educational requirements that are necessary, and so on. Not all majors have this, but we feel like it's really important for students to have access to that kind of information. Couple of prerequisites. First, you need to have had an introductory psychology course, either PSY 110S or the equivalent. And we require that you be a major, that you be majoring in psychology, neuroscience, or human development. Some students have asked me, well, why is that? Why can't anyone take this if they're just interested in it. Well, the difficulty is that the nature of the assignments, particularly the academic planning assignment, is really only appropriate for majors in our programs. So if you are currently not a major in one of our programs, if you were intending to declare, please get the paperwork turned in. If you have no intention of declaring a major in any of our programs, you need to talk to me as soon as possible. The course objectives are listed here. We want you to become very fully aware of the very broad range of fields that are represented in our 3 program areas. We want you to understand career options and degree requirements in the various career paths that are available in our program areas. We want you to do some work to think about your own goals, values, and interests as they relate to your choices. And then finally, we want you to work with your advisor in the context of this class to lay out a full kind of academic plan for you going forward. Now, a lot of this is supplied for you. Once you declare your major, self-service has an academic plan function that's really very helpful, although it has some bugs. So in working with my advisees, I work very hard to make sure we get all questions answered and that we have a kind of an organized plan with options laid out across the semesters of your bachelor's degree program. Your syllabus is posted here in a couple of different forms. There's a PDF version of the syllabus that you can click on and view electronically. You can also download it. Syllabi have gotten quite long. So one of the things students have asked me over the years is can I just, and how many pages? 7 pages before I get to the schedule. So I also have just the schedule popped out so that you know when all your deadlines are and so on. So the syllabus, and one of the things that I've been doing with all of my courses, whether they're online or in person, is to make sure that all of the information that's in your syllabus is also available here on the D2L page, kind of broken out into pieces. But I do recommend, I strongly encourage, I can go so far as to require, but strongly encourage that you download and read every word of the syllabus so that you understand what's expected of you. There's also a Word version of the syllabus if you want to download that and have it on your computer. There's also a Word version of the course schedule that you can have. Now, I mentioned earlier that your textbook, and the textbook that we're using is the newest version of Kuether and Morgan's Careers in Psychology, Opportunities in a Changing World. It's the 6th edition. And before you run off and buy a copy for yourself, either an electronic or a physical copy from whatever source you like to use, I require that students in this class read their book on an application called Perusal. And if you've never used it before, I'll give you a little walkthrough of how it works here as we go forward. But don't buy your textbook anywhere else. It's not optional. You have to use Perusal. It's a part of your assessment in this class. So to access the course, it's kind of a 2-step process. So you go to Perusal, and I already have Perusal up. I'm going to log out so I show you kind of how it might look for you. So once you land on Perusal.com, if you don't have an account with Perusal yet, make one. It's free. After you've made your account, log in. And what you'll see up here are some options. You can teach a class, you can do a workshop, you can have your own book club if you want, and so on. But this is the one you're going to want to use. You're going to click on here to enter your enrollment code to join the class. So what you put in this box is this number right here. It's my last name, Daly, N2GYR. And you'll put it in that box. And once you click OK, that's going to add you to the class. And then you'll go to the class and it'll look, this is the instructor view. Yours will look very similar to this. And what you'll see on the assignment page is you'll have chapter 1 has 2 parts. Chapter 2 has 2 parts. Each chapter, you read the chapter, and then there's a short kind of reading check quiz that goes with it. Before you can access any of this, you need to click to open the book the first time. And what will happen, this won't show up for me because I have access to the book as the instructor already. But for you, you're going to click that open button the first time, and it's going to ask you to either pay for access to the book with a credit card or enter a purchase code from your bookstore. When you go to access your materials for the bookstore, first you have to request them from the university store, and then what you'll be sent, either by email or you pick it up at the bookstore, you'll be given a code, and that purchase code is what you enter when you open the book the first time, and that will allow you to actually read the book. I'm going to come back around here in a second. I'm going to come right back to where we are, but I want to cover a few other things first. So accessing Perusal is a two-step process. First, you have to join the class on Perusal. Then you need to get reading rights. So you either need to buy access using your credit card or you need to enter a bookstore code to get it. Now, before I give you a longer explanation of how Perusal works, I want to navigate over to the weekly modules. So each of the 7 weeks is going to have a module attached to it. And the way these modules look, first you'll have an overview, and each week I'm going to have a video overview. I haven't quite recorded my video overview of this week yet, so that'll be stuck in here as soon as I get it done. But the week's learning objectives will be outlined. Then you'll have your tasks. These are your assignments for the week. So you're doing the first one right now. You're watching the orientation video. Then I'm asking you to read the syllabus. You can click here and open your choice of which version of the syllabus you want to read. And then you go into your first assignments. So here on week 1, you're going to be reading chapters 1 and 2. For each chapter, what I'm asking you to do, and I'm going to pop over to Perusal next, is to make 3 what Perusal calls annotations per chapter, and then to take the chapter quiz. So let's go back up to Perusal. So if you've never used Perusal before, it'll seem really weird at first, but the way I look at it and why I like Perusal is it's basically social media for reading. So when you open your chapter for the first time, you'll see that your screen is divided into 2 pieces here. You've got your textbook over here, and my font probably looks a little funny because I have this preference. You can change the font to whatever your eye prefers. I love this font called Open Dyslexic. I don't have a reading disability, but I find it easier to read this font that was designed for individuals with reading difficulties. Anyway, the way Perusal works is you're going to be reading along and you're like, that's really interesting. I'd like to make a comment about that. So maybe what does a person with a bachelor's degree in psychology do? Maybe you've had that question too. So you highlight the piece of text that interests you. Then you pop over here. Notice it shows my creepy little photo. And you have a box. And in that box, you start typing and you can make a comment. So let's say that I want you to introduce yourselves. This is our first reading assignment. So I'm just going to randomly say choosing a major. But it's not going to be about that. I'm going to say, So once you hit your enter key, you've just posted your comment. Now, as you're reading, I've just made an introductory post, say, and I want you to respond to it, so please do. But as you're reading along, you might say, wow, I didn't know there were so many of these. Now, that's a comment that's legitimate, it's valid, but it's not going to get you a high score. So what does Perusal do when it looks at the things that you post? What I want from you in your interaction with your reading is for you to have read something and then ask a question, make an interpretation, share your own example, elaborate on what's said, and so on. What I don't want you to do is, although you can, but you got low scores for them. If it's one, like if you say, yeah, I agree with that, that's really smart, that's going to get you a fairly low score. If, however, you say that and then you elaborate and provide an example or ask a question, then you will get higher scores. So what Perusal is looking for is, number one, engagement, and number two, cognitive complexity. Let me go back here and I'll show you how scoring works just for your annotations. Now, the chapter quiz portion, I'll go back here. Notice how this says next part up here. After you've done your reading, after you've gone all the way through the entire chapter and you've posted your minimum of 3 comments, questions, annotations, then you click on next part, and that will present you with the quiz. Now, you can't see the quiz until you've done your reading. The quiz isn't a separate graded assignment. It's included in the same assignment. And now I'll show you how that works. Oops, did not mean to do that, or that. All right, so I want to show you what scoring looks like here. So what Perusal will do, and I go in and I look at everybody's posts, everybody's quizzes, and I make sure I agree with the way Perusal scores them. So I have the ability to override if I disagree. So the biggest chunk of your grade on Perusal is what you post in your comment. And scores are going to be from 0 to 3. 3 means you made an insightful comment, question, or annotation, and it's seen as cognitively complex and adding to your level of engagement. A 2 might be you've paraphrased exactly what was said in the part of the text that you highlighted. So it gives you a 2 for being engaged, but it's really not all that complicated what you've posted. You've just sort of repeated it. And then, a 1 is usually, I get a lot of 1s because I read every one of your posts on Perusal, and I often say, that's a really good observation, period. I get 1s for that. So Perusal even scores me along the way. So that's kind of how it works, and you'll learn, pretty quickly how to keep your scores high. Now, opening the assignment gets you a little bump. Reading the entire document, watching, if I were posting a video or a podcast, reading, watching, or listening to the whole thing gets you 20%. Then, so notice how full credit is down here. You've hit full credit. You can earn more than 100%. So let's say you got some lower scores on your content, but you got a lot of responses, you got some upvoting, and your quiz score was really high. So there are lots of ways to get full credit for interacting with your text on Perusal. Okay, so that's how Perusal works. Now, full disclosure, this is the first time I've tried the quiz option in this class. So you're kind of my experimental subject here to see how it works. So bear with me as we kind of figure out how it functions. All right, let's go back to D2L now that you've gotten some familiarity with how perusal works. You'll catch on really, really quickly. If you have problems, if you have questions, please reach out to me and let me know. The other task that you have for week 1 is watching the video lectures. And I have posted the PowerPoints for those lectures here. So I've got part 1 and part 2 for chapter 1, and then one video for chapter 2. There's also a YouTube playlist, and I'll post a news item for how to get onto that playlist. Sometimes students would prefer not to go to D2L to find their videos. They prefer just go to YouTube and get on the playlist and watch them while they're doing other things. Or they may not want to watch the video, but just listen to it while they're working out or whatever. And I don't care as long as you absorb the content. All right, so each week is going to kind of look like that. When we move on to week 2, which I haven't done any of the videos for, but just to show you, week 2 changes because we start to do some more exploration, and you'll have some of your first reflective assignments coming due. I go over, some of the APA divisions in our first career area that we're going to look at, and so on. So you'll have your same, perusal, reading assignments, and your quiz. There will be now you'll have your first actual reflective assignment, and I have a video describing the assignment and how to accomplish it, so you can watch that. But in that first assignment, you'll be completing some checklists, some surveys, and then writing a short essay and dropping it in the Dropbox for assessment. The videos will be posted here, and also you'll get some bonus material. You'll get to see one of our faculty members who actually his career is in the area covered in chapter 4 for you to look at. And then I add, as we're looking at these specific career paths, I have gone out and found some additional profiles of people who work in the various areas that we'll be looking at. So that's just bonus material for you that's for your own education. All right, so that covers the information about the weekly modules. The only other tab over here in the content space is resources and policies. So there are sub areas for help with D2L, student academic support, technology, and so on. Much of this information is duplicated in your syllabus, but it's easily accessible here as well. So that is your overview, your orientation to the course. You'll run into questions, you'll run into things that you don't understand fully. Please reach out to me by email or through my bookings app. Phone is a little dicey because our phones on campus now are through Teams, through Microsoft Teams. If I'm in my office and connected to the network, perfect. That works fine. I will get an alert. It'll tell me my phone is quote unquote ringing. If I'm at home though, and not on the VPN, so not directly connected to the Mount Union network, I don't get any alerts from Teams. So I won't know that the phone's ringing. On the other hand, if I get an email to my Mount Union email, I get an alert on my Apple Watch and on my phone. So it's to me, it's more reliable to get a hold of me by email. So keep that in mind. But reach out, whatever questions you have, stop by my office, shoot me an email, set up an appointment, whatever you need. I look forward to working with you this semester. Take care.